Hello everybody, and welcome to another vlog. Today's one, no, this is not a vlog. Wait a second, this is way more important. This will be probably the most talked about topic today in the fashion industry, and I mean, it would be just unfair if I wouldn't cover it as well. Can we agree on that one? As it's a very important topic, clearly I'm wearing a red sweater. Apparently red color indicates importance of certain things, topics, and all the other grandiose things. So without further ado, as the title suggests, today we will be discussing Chanel Spring Summer 26 and more precisely what it represents at this moment in time. So let's start. Well, this topic is important because it's not only that the collection is entering stores, the new collection, we're talking about the new direction under Matthieu Blazy. Whenever Chanel goes under creative, let's say, reconstruction, it's so much more than aesthetics. It is a whole cultural debate. It is everything about repositioning identity, because Chanel is not just a brand. It is a system of codes, of symbols, expectations that have been built for more than a century, and any shift, even if it's subtle, has a very important relevance. So let's deep dive. So for the context, we're going to discuss Chanel in this transitional moment. And to really understand the importance of the collection, it is necessary to situate Chanel within its current context. In, I would say, recent years, the house has experienced price elevation, increased pressure to maintain exclusivity. We've all heard about them not really given the classic flaps to many people, or at least you could not have bought more than one. At the same time, the fashion landscape itself has evolved. We have moved from kind of like overt branding and hyper visibility towards something a little bit more restrained, quiet, that whole topic of quiet luxury. Changing again, Chanel has historically always occupied a unique position between heritage and modernity, accessibility, exclusivity, restraint, and fantasy. The question now, how is it all going to work under Matthieu Blazy? Well, I think this is a very important question because Matthieu Blazy is not just any designer. He's been like extremely successful already at Celine, at Bottega Veneta, and many have said that he's the kind of like quiet voice behind many of the successes. He worked under Martin Margiela, introduced a way of thinking about clothing as something that can be taken apart and reassembled. At Celine, worked alongside Phoebe Philo. He redefined like language of minimalism that is less about reduction, more about precision. For him, every element is considered. Nothing is excessive, nothing is accidental. At Bottega, like, okay, there was this whole like Daniel Lee era, but then Matthieu came and Bottega was just, if not even more successful. And, you know, he was really good at technically complex garments that looked simple but were highly engineered, very interesting. Luxury that was deliberately understated, which is important because Blazy's design philosophy is always about creating depth over time. As one reaction described it, Julia Louis-Dreyfus said, "I've never in my life seen anything like this," which I personally think is very important to remember later on. We've kind of covered some of the basics, right? But like, why is this such a big topic? Have you ever, over all of these years, heard about a first collection as much as about Matthieu Blazy's? I think maybe Anthony Vaccarello's Saint Laurent had a lot of maybe even Hedi Sliman's first Celine collection, because the expectations were huge. But I think we need to discuss the codes: tweed, camellia, tailoring, monochrome palettes. Everything is present in the collection, but their presence is slightly adjusted. There is kind of like a sense that he's taking Chanel apart and putting it back together again, making it his own, but still maintaining it Chanel, which is what we wanted. And now, obviously, I have to input my personal opinion as well, which is I've never seen more detailed and more special Chanel collection, which you do not get to see through the screen or through the collections. And as someone who is completely unbiased, because I have no relationship with the brand itself, I can tell you that when I first saw the collection, I really loved the first 5 looks, and then I thought like, okay, this is great, but these looks are going to be so costly that to an average consumer it's just going to be so irrelevant. However, when I saw the details of the collection, I cannot even express the words, because I think that the details are where Matthieu Blazy and that kind of like engineered construction is really where it's at, and what we've been missing and longing for at Chanel. Now, one of the most significant references within the collection is the 1920s, the year, right? This is not an accident because this was the period in which Coco Chanel established her most radical ideas, like the removal of corsetry, the introduction of jersey into women's wardrobes. Remember the whole story about her walking in pants, which was like extraordinary and absolutely not allowed. There's a cultural reference here because Coco Chanel wearing menswear was not permitted. I mean, that's kind of crazy as an idea, right? The men's suit became neutral for her, and the moment changed the history of fashion because today we are allowed to wear fashion like as such, but that's a whole other story as well. I think that's kind of like the 1920s, the time when a woman's clothing became functional, liberating, aligned with modern life. Blazy returns to his moment not to recreate it visually, but to revisit its underlying logic. The one thing that I felt like was very present in this collection, and if you watch my Spring Summer 26 trends video, I have heavily mentioned it, and we're talking about the dropped waist. The use of drop waist is one of the clearest manifestations in Blazy's approach to this. So it's kind of like removal of the natural waistline. And this is what he did a lot. It elongates the torso, lowers the center of the body, creates a more relaxed, continuous line. But I think like more importantly, it alters how the body is perceived. The silhouette is less about definition and it's a lot more about movement, which for me personally is what really fashion stands for. The Chanel jacket has long function as one of the house's most recognizable elements. I think I own probably more than 20 Chanel jackets. Blazy reinterprets this garment in a way that is almost philosophical. He softened the structure, reduced the rigidity. It's not so tight and uncomfortable anymore. I got 2 or 3 jackets from this collection and they're much softer. They're following the body or not following the body, but either way they are comfortable. So they're like 2 kinds, but the structure is really expressed through ease. If the silhouettes are restrained, the materials carry sort of intellectual weight of the collection, and this is where Blazy's background is very important and most visible. At Chanel, material has always been central, but here it is sort of like treated as a surface, as like an idea, as a concept. The tweed is reworked, it's lighter, okay, easier to catch with your jewelry because it's kind of like almost like knit kind of. Mix of like knit, cashmere and tweed, something, but very delicate, very beautiful. Moved away from the classic boucle and kind of came to like something more textured, dynamic. A lot of textures that kind of change under different lights. And I would say like this is where there's like this blurry line between structure and movement and softness. And I think this is where maybe not so obvious on the first like look, but Matthieu Blazy's Chanel made the biggest difference. So there's a deliberate avoidance of rigidity. I would say that clothing is designed to move with the body, not restrain it and constrain it. And, you know, again, that is what Coco Chanel tried to change because I think prior to 1920s, fashion was much more constraining. So really, Matthieu Blazy tapped into what Coco Chanel wanted from the beginning, or what she changed in and what made her a fashion icon. I really enjoyed watching actually the interviews with the guests at the first show, so like the spring summer. We're still talking about spring summer because that's what's hit the shops, right? And Carrie Coon said, I found everything so wearable. I could see myself in it, and it didn't feel like I had to pretend to be someone else. This really made me think a lot. Was Chanel before making us pretend that we are someone else? Was it sort of like leaning into trying to kind of like fit into something? I don't think so personally for me, but I sure think that this collection is a lot more wearable, younger, fresher, but not necessarily younger by age, just more like expiry date was a little bit further away. And I think like as the collection begins to enter stores, or it's been already in the stores, a different layer of analysis emerges, which I think we need to discuss the whole like distinction between runway expression and retail performance. Now, this is the topic that I always discuss. So we see a lot of things on runway, right? And people or the clients, consumer, tends to say, oh, I don't like it, it's not wearable, or yes, I like it, it's wearable. But the pieces that are resonating most strongly are usually accessories like shoes and bags, right? Like sunglasses, for example, because you don't look at the flamenco dress and think like, oh, this is very wearable for me, right? But I think the bags and the shoes really took the world by the storm. Now, I don't know if it's also due to some sort of like a key fashion personalities wearing like the bags right away and the shoes, but I also think that the first 5 looks, or look number 1, look number 3, and look number 5, really were all like pre-sold because they are really wearable and accessible. And this is where the runway wasn't just the runway, it was also this like wearable thing. The XXL bag is stripped of its chain. So the chain is now like a leather strap, and the XXL bag completely took internet by storm. You could not get one even if you tried really hard. Now I got one in color suede. Is that a color? In material suede in beige. And I personally really love it. I would have gotten honestly like all the colors and all the variations because I love the XXL flap. There's a return of a shoe with a higher heel, deeper cut, more squared shape. Let's talk about shoes. Square toe. What do we think about square toe? What do you think about square toe? I'm not a fan of square toe, but somehow I ended up getting a pair. And I don't know if it's like a Blazy touch or it's the fact that I was craving for something different when it comes to fashion. I was getting a little bit saturated with everything else. And I think the most popular pieces by far in this collection were the XXL flap, were the Coco Preppy bags. I did a whole video on the bags, Coco Preppy bowling bag and the large or the small tote. So those were the pieces that everybody wanted and they were very hard to get. Now, there's definitely an evidence of high demand for key accessories, which we just discussed. Like there's limited availability, creating some sort of sense of urgency. There were queues outside of the boutique. I have not seen a queue for a very long time outside of Chanel, and I have seen a queue on the launch day, on pre-launch day. In Milan, there was a queue for a while. I did have a feeling, because I did buy quite a few pieces, I did have a feeling like they were telling me the item is unavailable, we're so sorry, but then texting me later to say that it became available. This did not happen with my personal sales associate in London, who's like divine, she's my friend. So she's not like playing games with me and telling me things. But there were pieces that I wanted, and I was told, so sorry, this is kept for a client, and then I would be called 3-4 hours later, or 6 or 8, to come back and get it as it was then mine. And what's so interesting is that my friends told me they had the same. So is this really a genuine sort of like scarcity and popularity, or is it created by a strategy? This is the question. One other thing that I wanted to say is that the collection launched in Paris before any other city during Paris Fashion Week. So naturally, at Fashion Week, sitting front row, everybody was discussing. The main question was, what did you get from new Chanel collection? And people were going crazy, going to Chanel, securing their items. So I remember I was sitting at a show and I was discussing with 2 people across me and 1 person next to me, and we were talking about who got what. And there was this feeling of almost like FOMO if the pieces sell out, which again, I have not experienced in quite a long time, but it was fresh and it was different. But I have to say that it was very smart to launch the collection during Paris Fashion Week, because that naturally the fashion people would create a little bit more hype and a little bit more excitement than you would imagine naturally for these pieces to have. So this to me is just like a very smart business move. There's a lot of other stuff that I would like to say, but I do think that, again, general client knew what kind of pieces are going to sell out, and bags were the most in demand together with the jeans, which coincidentally I'm wearing right now. I don't know why, but the top of my jeans keeps opening because this turn lock just does not seem to. Maybe they're a bit big, I'm not sure, or small. And now I have only one hand to close them, which is not making it convenient because I'm holding my matcha, which I've kind of partly finished. But here we go. I do think they're fabulous. And I think they're so fabulous that I actually got them in 3 colors. All 3 colors that they come in: white, blue, and black denim. Don't judge, please. You know what I loved talking about coats and the guests who were at the show? Olivia Singer said it felt like Chanel, but for today. There was an energy and lightness to it. Why is it that a lot of the people felt like Chanel became, over the past years, a little bit outdated? So they felt that this current collection was just so fresh and new and exciting. And then again, what to expect next, right? Because we already had Matthieu Blazy's second collection I guess you could call it even a third because there was also Matthieu Blazy, but let's just say fall-winter, right? As the collection continues to roll out globally, there are more pieces landing into the stores. I would say that there were several developments we should kind of keep an eye to, right? So there's the whole evolution of accessories as a central category that I just mentioned, and I guess the expansion of ready-to-wear within this framework, which was like a lot of quarter zips, jeans, leather jackets, and like those kind of like soft touch tweed jackets. There's this kind of whole further clarification of Blazy's design language, which we need to yet see, because one or two collections don't really mean much. As the first collections are always, and I'm telling you this about like every brand that like has currently shown under the new creative director, it's always about positioning. And then the next ones will be about the authorship. So at first it's about positioning, and then we're gonna see what's really rolling out. But right now he's kind of positioning himself as pretty much the new Karl Lagerfeld. And hey, I did not say that. This is what Anna Wintour said, pretty much. Maybe I'm just kind of like modifying her words a little bit. But yeah, this is not a collection that seeks to redefine Chanel in a single gesture. And that's also very important. He's not trying to redefine Chanel. He's not trying to do Matthieu Blazy. I mean, every designer is going to do his own work, right? But it's a collection that repositions the house in a way. It reflects a designer who is engaging with the house with a precision, you know? And this is what's very important. I also heard people say at the show that Chanel doesn't tend to really change the creative directors much. So this is probably going to be the last creative director at Chanel that we're going to see in our lifetime, which seems kind of like we're getting married to someone. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. There is no more changes, because it's scary just because right now this does not feel like a conclusion. It feels like a beginning of a process. It's not like, okay, definite this or that. It's more like a negotiation between heritage, modernity, and what Chanel becomes next. I would say that when a creative director moves to a house, they bring their new style. Like, remember when Alessandro Michele came to Valentino, everybody was like, wait, this is new Gucci. No, this is just like his signature. Alessandro Michele came to Valentino, which is why it has his own style. And it's just important to adapt your own style to fit the brand. So Matthieu Blazy will bring his own style, but he will adapt it to match the codes of the house, and which he's already doing. And I think the way that he's doing it is a way that people desire and want. And maybe at the beginning we're not gonna love it so much. Like, I've seen also like Cocoa Beach, and I've seen like people's impression, but I think people need to see these pieces being lived in. So once you see the pieces being lived in, you kind of get it. Because when Matthieu Blazy was at Bottega, he didn't just focus on craftsmanship and minimalism and, you know, whatever the era was. Actually, it was kind of colorful era, but whatever. He also introduced a sense of fun, and Bottega was fun. And I mean, maybe it's a little bit more serious now than it was. Maybe it was different times as well, but I think like he always did these like small playful details that made the brand feel more fresh and unexpected, and I think he did the same at Chanel. Have you seen the earrings with the little chicken? I was shocked because I was like, how can this be Chanel? Chanel was always like very strict and very like sophisticated, and honestly like sometimes almost a little bit like if Chanel was a persona, it would have been a little bit snobby before, but now Chanel is more playful and a fun girl, more accepting, more democratic, besides the prices and besides the fact that you really cannot get your hands on the pieces. So those are the two things that are keeping Chanel still very, very much, you know, there it is. But I think Matthieu Blazy's collection definitely grabbed the attention, made people talk, helped the brand stand out. And for a house like Chanel, which is traditionally seen, like what I just said, very elegant and serious, this could be a really good way to soften the image and to just enough to feel more modern without losing the identity, right? Because that's what we crave. I think that being a creative director at Chanel is the most covetable job in fashion. That's the ultimate one, right? There are so many creative directors, I'm not going to name any names, but there are so many creative directors whose dream job is this job. And when I first heard that Matthieu was going to get this job, I was surprised, but also kind of not surprised. You know what I mean? I felt like he really proved himself already. Plus, from what I've heard, he has the nicest, kindest personality ever. So I think now, to make it more like clear and down to the point, because we've discussed now who Matthieu Blazy is, we've discussed what his first collection was, we have seen the show. It was this like planets and universe. And it was Matthieu Blazy universe at Chanel. It was really, really, I would say, out there. Like I told you, my first impression was like, wait a second, is this even purchasable? Is it wearable? How is it gonna affect the consumer? But now when it's hit the stores, I can really see what the key pieces are there. And then a lot of the runway pieces really never even showed up at the stores yet, or we haven't seen them because they got sold out at the very, very early pre-shopping situation, however you want to call it. So now I want to discuss some of the most popular pieces of the collection and give my 2 cents on what I think about them. If I'm holding my phone, it would be because I'm actually looking at it. Maybe you would also want to know which pieces I personally got. I think like most of the pieces you know, but like I already mentioned, I got the jeans in all 3 finishes or colors, however you want to say it. And personally, I'm very, very happy with that. I'm just loading all the looks on Vogue Runway so that we can kind of go through it. And my favorite looks from this collection are look number 1. I love this. I think this is probably also one of the most sold out looks as well. I have seen around 6 people at the Fall Winter 26 show wearing this jacket, both men and women. And this is something that I think is also very important. Men, even though Chanel does not do men do Chanel. So like men really, really found new Chanel very desirable. And this jacket, I think I've seen like Jacob Elordi wear this jacket, and I think it's really beautiful. What I think is very, very beautiful are the details. Again, going to the details. So we have these cuffs that are sort of like rollable, and then on the cuffs there's the micro Chanel logo detail. And that's another thing that I wanted to mention. The logo, we have not seen that much logo around, just like micro logos, which is what we've been craving as well. So the look number 1 definitely has to be mentioned. The look number 2, so it would be like a very similar jacket, besides the fact that this jacket in look number 2 was made to be worn open, and it's beautiful. Here you can see as well what we've just discussed earlier, which is the drop waist. I think the drop waist really defined this collection as well. Okay, I realize there's so much to discuss with you guys, so many looks, so many pieces, so many accessories, that I got up to get a chicken broth because I swapped my matcha for it. I wanted to say that in the look 1, there was that classic flap, but reconstructed version of it as well, which I would sort of say is a big influence of Matan Margiela on Blazy's work, but also it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek Gabrielle Chanel style. You know what I mean? Look number 2 already had this like kind of like culotte panty poking out of the trouser, which is very, very popular. Like again, look number 2 is extremely popular. The jacket is open and the shoes are square toe. These mint green square toe shoes are very, very popular, and it's like a piece that definitely took the world by storm. I personally did not buy them, but that does not mean that in the future I wouldn't. Look number 3 already featured the Chanel extra large, again a drop waist skirt and a pair of shoes that I'm actually really much contemplating. I'm loving these, sort of like a high bump, as I've discussed in shoe trends for 2026. Love them. They look like a glove and very comfortable. If somebody knows if they're comfortable or not, please let me know because I need to know. Then I'm moving on. Look number 5 with the belt, the jacket. The jacket here is slightly different. It's meant to be worn open, but the roll-up sleeves instead of white are kind of like a beigey color, and the skirt is gorgeous as well. Personally, I bought this look. I love this look. This look is very much myself. I think I will have a lot of wears out of this look, whether it's just the jacket, whether it's just the skirt, or worn together. Again, it was styled with a deconstructed bag. Personally, not my cup of tea. And if I'm not mistaken, this bag is like really expensive. Each to their own. Now, look number 6 featured the very popular block heel square toe, sort of like, again, reinterpretation of the classic Chanel colors, the beige and black, but a little bit different. And they have like a minimal CC logo in the front. So previously and historically, I would say that the logo was quite large, taking most of the toe cap or some sort of portion of the toe cap. Now it's quite minimal and dainty. I'm gonna scroll past next few looks, but I just wanna show you the jewelry in the look 7 and look 8, which are quite sort of like large and loud on the minimal outfits, which is again that kind of like infusion and injection of personality into the looks. As always, I like to be quite honest here. Like, for example, for me, look 11 is a no. I do not, like, as much as I love the look number 5, which I purchased, look number 11 for me was not a necessary runway look. It was like a variation of a great look, but not great. I actually loved some of these like asymmetric dresses, such as look number 12. Personally, probably would not get something like this because it would be like extremely overpriced, I would think. But there's a lot of intricate detailing, and the shoes again that I'm interested in. Then there was the shirt. The shirt was kind of like everywhere because it was this sort of like masculine shirt without like a huge logo that would previously be very present, but this time it was more like a men's shirt. And these shirts come from Boy Capel, who was Coco Chanel's boyfriend, I'm not sure. He was British, and he unfortunately died in a car crash, I believe, far too young. So it was kind of like a tragic love story. But the reason why I think this story is quite interesting is because there were a lot of pieces that were inspired by his sort of like very high society outfits, and one of them being this shirt that I believe Coco Chanel used to sort of like borrow and wear, which makes it even more like romantic and interesting. But at the same time, these shirts were not the only like sort of like, not the only time that Boy was mentioned. His name was Arthur, but he was referred to as Boy. And there's a lot of Boy. There's the Boy bag, there's the Boy lipstick, there's a lot of Boy in Chanel. So this shirt was another sort of like homage to him. Look number 15 is another look that I love. I love the jacket, I love the skirt, the shoes. These are the other square-ish toe shoes with high vamp that I actually really enjoyed. And these are like the suede, black and beige. They come in several different variations. I think there's like a touch of red. There is the mock croc, which is also very present in the spring summer collection in various different things, including bags, but we'll discuss that later. And then there is a black and white, so the total black, black and red, and the suede beige, I believe. Now, why is it that bags did so well? Is it because they are quite different to what they were? Or is it because we were just excited to see something completely different? And look number 18 premiered this elongated clutch that I think is probably one of the chicest clutches there is, but it also reminds me of the like Bottega pouch, however in a like a little bit more sophisticated and structured way. I would say I really absolutely love this clutch, and I know that this clutch also comes in several different colors. You will also notice on this look there's that again panty and the low waist drop down skirt, as well as a belt. The belts are very prominent in this collection. They're very popular. Classic belt with the tiniest little CC logo. I also got one, I believe in color brown, and it's going to be part of my look number 5. So very important. Look number 20 demonstrates Matthieu Blazy's love for engineering pieces, not just designing, but actually bring them in a specific way. And this is where he's really proving his craft and skill. And it's just styled with a classic cropped white shirt, again, kind of boy style. Here, look number 21, another one of my favorites. It also has, I'm just scrolling, the XXL flap in burgundy. This bag comes in burgundy, in taupe, in black, and in suede, like I told you already. And I just think it's so beautiful. The burgundy probably, I don't know, the burgundy or the taupe, which one is my favorite? I would say also I love the black, but I already have one black XXL taupe. So look number 22, and Bavita, who has then opened also the Métier d'Art show as the first Indian to open the Chanel show, which I think is like so wonderful, and it's again another way that Matthieu is like putting his own print while at the helm of the house. We have look 23, which has a lot of camellia present, but in a very different way to how we have previously seen camellia. And it's not like really that specific and structured camellia that we have seen previously. This is like more, for me, a look that could be present in Métier d'Art. Here you can also see the very popular shoes. In this occasion, they're like brown and white. Chanel stopped doing exotic skins since December 2018. So whenever you see a croc, it is a mock croc. I really love this knit top and the skirt with the camellia. It's a beautiful look where Matthieu Blazy's design came like to fruition. And the look 23 was not enough, so we had the look 24 as well, just in a burgundy. variation. Look number 25 is where the return of the tote comes. Now, when I started blogging a million years ago, I feel like 15 years ago, I don't even know how many years ago. Wait, chicken broth moment. This is very good, by the way. So when I started following Chanel, the executive tote was really, really, really trending. And then it kind of disappeared. And I think this is like the new version of executive tote that I personally love. Maybe not this mint mock croc. I love the black smooth. There's also black croc. There's also burgundy smooth. So mock croc, right? So there's a lot of like variation to this tote, which is one of the most popular bags of the collection. I really do love it. I did consider the tote, but then I felt like I have my Phoebe Philo one that I really wear a lot. Well, no, I don't wear it a lot, but I wish I wore it more, and I need to wear it more, so I did not get the bag. But here you can also see the sling bag, which is the square toe sling bag that I think is a perfect variation of the Chanel's classic one. Now, look number 26 contains most precious ready-to-wear piece that I own, and it is this black jacket with a camellia trim. It is really utterly beautiful, stunning. I have worn it already, and actually if you look at this, you will see that there's a lot of camellia around the neck, and I believe as well obviously on the skirt, but the neck part is not part of the jacket. It is actually part of the top that was styled under the jacket. Look number 27 is a dress that I love because it contains a strong contrast of black and white in a dress, and I really think it's like super modern dress. So if you have like a very important event, this would be the dress, and you would not look like you're wearing a boring Chanel dress at all. I would love to show you also look number 32 because it contains another suit, but here is like a more structured tweed, kind of like more traditional Chanel in color gold, and still is very like young and fresh, but I do think it's a very important look. Look 42 contains another new bag, which is this sort of like a bowling large bag. It is not my favorite. It's suede, in this suede that I really, really love, but it's not my favorite just because I think like it's not really giving anything to me except like travel. I just did not enjoy this vibe. Then we have look 43, which has the most intricate detailing, and look 45, which is very heavy knitted. Look 46 contains this green jacket. This is probably, if you ask me, the sort of most mature look of the collection. I have tried the jacket on though, and I did like it, but I did feel like this was the most mature portion of the show, together with the look 48, 49. I mean, still like very Matthieu Blazy, but you know. Look number 52, beautiful whitish, off-whitish, I'm not really sure, light pink, I haven't seen it in real life yet, dress that I just think this is like one of the most stunning pieces, but this piece is probably going to be like very like 10,000 euros plus, so you know, it's one of those pieces that will cost a lot. Now we have look 54 and look 55. These are very important because they're very, very prominent part of the collection, and here we have some sort of like jackets that are not really jackets, but they're kind of not cardigans either. They're very soft knit jackets, and I particularly love both. Obviously I prefer 55, which is the one that I ended up getting myself. They both come with a mini skirt. I did not get a mini skirt, by the way, and I did not get the white with orange trimming one because I really liked the classic same. It was not presented in the runway, but it was in the boutiques in the more commercial part. The all white and all black same version of this cardigan jacket, which I think are sensationally beautiful. And as is the first collection, they're kind of like archival pieces, like that will be very important and significant. Another thing that I think are very important to mention here, square toe shoes with this kind of flap and CC logo, very similar to the iconic loafer that Chanel did and like sold out for years. They also come in beige, they also come in black with white trimming and in all black suede. I ended up getting white because I don't really have many shoes of that kind, and I think this is where it's important to discuss the quality. I personally am very happy with quality of Chanel in general, and even if something breaks or whatever, I think their customer service is pretty good, where you bring it back to the shop and they fix it, even if sometimes takes very long time, but they always fix it free of charge. However, when I unboxed these white shoes, I've noticed that the black leather was a little bit like piling on the sides, like the cut of the leather was not perfect, but I wasn't sure if this is what happens when the leather is very soft. I'm not really like a technical person, I'm more like in the consumer side. And as a consumer, as long as if something breaks, you will fix it for me, I'm kind of okay with it. You know what I mean? That's what for me is very important. Now, look 66, 67, 68 contain a lot of accessories that I think are detrimental in this collection because they're very playful, very different. And when I say accessories, I mean jewelry. So these are the pieces that you will really see a lot. Also look 70, earrings, very strong. Look 71 is the dress. It's the dress that when I saw the first collection, it is the piece, the only piece that I remembered from the collection. And I remember thinking, this is gonna be 35,000 euros. Maybe it isn't, I don't know. You guys might know better, but a lot of detail, a lot of work that personally I would imagine being more like in Matthieu Blazy collection, because it's so intricate and so detailed and so much handmade work goes into these pieces, like look 73 as well, look 72, look 74. These are really very precious. So as someone who really appreciates fashion and the craftsmanship, I think like this was not easy to deliver. This is not just someone like, you also have to imagine, it's not like whatever you imagine you can design and produce. There is so much work that goes into it that I think is very important to bring up, and that's what made this collection so special, these last few pieces, as well as of course look 77, which contained the colorful sort of like wide floral feathers, maybe they were not even feathers, but very detailed dress with a top. And it's not dress, I think it's a skirt with a top, yes, because I can see the pants that are poking out. And that was it, you guys. I feel like there's one thing that I haven't mentioned, a pair of shoes that also is very popular, and you could see in look 72, and there was another look, but you can see the pony leather shoes. I mean, it's called pony leather, but it's not made of actual pony. Anyway, we know that. The shoes with animal print. So animal print, I think, is like just exploding right now. I mean, it's always popular, but right now animal print is just like, whoa. However, the pony print ballerina shoes and slingbacks have absolutely taken the whole world by storm. And they are sold out. Like, I mean, in order to get them, you would obviously like either have to go through a personal shopper or, I don't know, like have a very good connection in the boutique, because they're very difficult to get. And that kind of covers the whole spring summer 26 collection. So what do we think about Chanel? It's all over my For You page. It's all over my Explore page on Instagram. And I am not mad at it. I got the black jacket with the white camellia. I got the black jacket with the red trimming. I got the white cardigan. I got the black and white cardigan. I got the jeans in 3 colors. I got 3 pairs of shoes, the pony slingback, the black mock croc, and the white square toe. I got a little simple white shirt because I love the white shirt. I got a swimming suit. I have not actually managed to mention swimming suits because they were not part of the runway, but the swimming suits are actually so big and so sold out. They come in 2 different versions, with a crisscross in front and with like straight straps in burgundy and in blackish navy kind of color. I managed to get my hands on one, but I would love another piece, of course, maybe in burgundy, why not? I absolutely also loved the sort of like other commercial pieces such as flip-flops and easier. They had a lot of sandals that were just like with a logo. I didn't get any of that. I did not get any of jewelry. The only kind of accessory other than shoes and bags that I got is a belt. Did not get any sunglasses either. That is it. There's one more piece that I got that is not with me yet because it's in England, that you will probably see later on. But, oh yeah, I also got the Raffia Kelly bag, which I love. I know some of you were outraged when you saw me unbox it on TikTok, but I absolutely love it. I think it's super fun and I already worn it. So far, I got the bowling Coco Preppy bag, I got the Raffia bag, and I got the big suede bag, and I got another bag. I wouldn't even be mad at getting a 5th bag. That's on my wish list, but honestly, we can kind of stop ourselves here. I found it like very, very exciting to wear. I find it very interesting. I'm curious to see how the quality will endure. And those are my thoughts on Matthieu Blazy collection. What I liked, what I didn't like. And I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear what you think, whether you want some pieces. I did not get the Coco Preppy or like the Chanel 26 because I did not love it as much as I loved the bowling one, the one which is like a round shaped. I love that one so much. I actually wanted it in another color, but then it was like so present on Instagram that I wanted to get it in a little bit more unique color. So I got in this like whitish bluish color, which I actually really, really love. And I've worn this bag already like 3-4 times. I really enjoy it a lot. So the round Coco Preppy I love. There's also like a longer version, but I prefer, I think the one I got, I think it fits more. I'll have to inspect on that and I will report back to you guys. I love my extra large flap. The only downside is of the suede one that I have. Mine one comes with a chain. The non-suede ones come with a leather strap, and I think it's a little bit a heavy bag, but it doesn't matter because it's so beautiful. Like when I worn it, everybody was like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful bag ever. My straw one fits more than you will think. And I just think it's fun. It has this wooden clasp and I think it's fun and it's great. And this is what we crave. We crave fashion, even if it's high fashion, even if it's overpriced, and even if we have to stand outside in the queue, we need it to be a little bit more fun, because we don't want any more boring pieces, which anyway come with a high price tag and are unnecessarily pretending to be exclusive. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna go back to my chicken broth, you know, to get all the collagen and all the good stuff for my body prior to my wedding, as part of my wedding routine. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you would like me also to cover maybe like the Coco Beach, maybe the fall winter Chanel, or maybe another brand. Maybe you want to hear what I thought about, I don't know, like Saint Laurent or Balenciaga or another brand, or maybe you want me to cover a variety of brands in general, which I would definitely be open to because I love yapping and I love fashion, so the two come great together. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys!